basically just going to try it.
Okay.
I'm not going to eat the whole big thing. I'm going to cut off a piece.
Neither am
Do you want to just cut it in half?
I. Yeah.
Let's just cut it in half. We can maybe
I'm
save.
not like hurt.
Let's go ahead and do that.
You can save the rest for curious.
Yeah. Wow, this is thick.
Man, this is missing out.
It's definitely got the gooey part to it.
Oh yes.
Now, do you want to cut it again, or is half good?
Cut it again.
Cut it again.
I can eat the rest afterwards.
Oh, it's gooey.
Oh, that's like.
Yeah, this
Man.
is really gooey.
Oh, what's in there?
I'm gonna guess this is the lemon and like the nut.
Oh, well. I'm not a big fan of nuts, but I'm not allergic to them, so.
I think I'm just gonna take the other half of the piece that I cut there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, ready? Hi, all you Narnia fans. We are here doing a special little video. One of our supporters and ministry helpers named Jeannie, she took a trip recently to Greece. And while she was there in Greece, she found a place that served fresh-made Turkish Delight from Greece. And so she got a couple pieces and brought it back on an airplane to give to us so that we could try Turkish Delight made from Greece. So this is kind of cool. It's one of the fun things that happens occasionally as we get Turkish Delight given to us. And I think so far my favorite is still the pomegranate that we tried one time. But we have a new flavor here. I think it's the lemon variety with maybe some kind of pistachio or nut that's in it. And so I have Lucy here with me, and we're going to give our opinion as to the how great this Turkish Delight is. So this is not Lucy's normal gig. She usually is rejecting the Turkish Delight. Edmund had to leave before he could try any. Maybe we'll see what he thinks next week.
Yes.
But we're going to take a piece of this. We actually cut it in fours. It was this big here. And the one thing that I noticed right off when I started cutting it is when you get the box kind, they're much smaller and they're kind of hard, almost like a jelly bean.
Yeah, it's like a jelly bean.
Yeah, and so they're not gooey, but when you watch the movie and Edmund's eating it, it's very gooey.
Sticky.
And now this has been in the fridge, so it's not as gooey as when it was out in regular temperature. But it's still, when we tried to cut it, it was really gooey.
It was like sticking to the.
Yeah, it was sticking to the knife. So I think this is a lot closer to the real stuff. So let's see what we think here.
I got a nut.
It's definitely softer.
It's very soft.
So are you going to speak in your British accent and give your opinion?
Of course.
I was reading somewhere that in order to make Turkish Delight properly, that the confectionery baker will go to school for many, many years and have to go through a lot of practice in order to make Turkish Delight properly. It's almost like an art. It's a special skill. And now we've tried to make Turkish Delight before using a recipe off the internet, and it basically came out like a nasty Jell-O. And so it's a lot harder than people think when they actually try to make it using a recipe off the internet. You have to have a lot of skill from it, practicing and working, because it's the way you have to mix it and everything. It affects the texture on how you do it. And so usually the ones that can make it really good have had lots and lots and lots of practice at it.
Cool.
So, what else did you think of it?
I think it's almost a little sour. In the back of my mouth, it's a little sour, and I don't like nuts, so.
It definitely has It's definitely the lemon,
It's
but
definitely lemon.
but it has. You know how the rose has a very
I
flowery.
love the rose.
It has a flowery taste
Yes.
to it. It almost, to me, it feels like this has a little bit of that aromatic, flowery
Yes.
taste to it. Now, I like nuts,
I don't like nuts.
so I like the nut in it. Um, and I think as far as lemon goes, I think it was pretty good.
It
Um,
was.
I'm a fan of lots of powdered sugar, so I would have had
Not.
more, I would have had more powdered sugar. Um, and I like the rose. You know, we're fans of the rose,
Yes.
but a lot of people don't like the rose. And
They're
one of the
crazy.
things that a lot of people don't know about the movie is that Skander Keys, who played Edmund, he was not a fan of the rose and wouldn't eat it. And so the company that made the Turkish Delight for him actually made him a unique flavor that is not a standard flavor of Turkish Delight. And I'm trying to remember what that flavor was. I know it wasn't pomegranate.
Is it raspberry?
There you go. Yeah. So Lucy remembered it was raspberry, and so that was unique to them, and you can order it from them, but it's not a typical flavor. Lemon is a typical flavor. There's pistachio
Rose.
and rose. I think those are the main three that are common.
I remember a green one. I think that was like an apple.
Well, I know that the pistachio, the nut is a green nut. That may be what you're thinking of.
I think so.
Now, we also tried the unique flavor that I found in the store, the pomegranate. And the pomegranate, I think, for most people, that's been their favorite
That one
one.
was really good.
The pomegranate we had one time. And now, if I can buy that, I buy the pomegranate to do in our shows because we found that a lot of the little kids don't like the rose flavor.
For some random reason.
And we can't serve usually the pistachio or the ones that have the nuts like this
Nut
one
allergies.
because of nut allergies. So the pomegranate, if we can find it, is the preferred flavor. 'Cause we found the last show. This was before you joined us, but we did a show that had that we served the kids all the Turkish Delight, and a lot of them didn't like it, and we're actually spitting it out.
Uncool.
But that was the rose flavor, and so we've learned to serve kids the pomegranate because they seem to like that better.
Maybe it's like an acquired taste.
Well, I did some study on that too, and for here in America, we have definitely a different taste palette in our mouth than Edmund would have because Edmund
Yes,
was
sir.
from England,
Yes.
and so the British palate, their taste is a lot different. And so some of the things that they like over there in England, we don't have the same taste for it, and so they like a lot more, I think, than the average American does. One of the things that I did find in researching out Turkish Delight that was kind of cool was that it makes a little bit of sense that Edmund would have asked for Turkish Delight because it really was a specialty. He
Really?
was dealing with when he and his siblings went through the wardrobe, they were escaping a wartime. In London, there was the bombing raids and there was the war going on. And during war, a lot of things were rationed. In other words, they cut back on the available amount to the public for war efforts. And one of the things that was limited during war was sugar. And so any of the sweets and the delicacies, they were either much rarer to get or they were a lot more expensive. And so for a family like the Pevensies, that would have been a very, very special treat to have anything with sugar. And so by Edmund asking for that, he's really asking for a tall order, something that's really special. And so the witch is able to produce that for him. But it was definitely a treat for him to have Turkish Delight, because it wasn't, I think it would be, if we think today about the most, likable and favorite treat, like What would, if you were able to have any kind of treat, like maybe for your birthday, for example, that was a dessert or something special, what would you ask for?
I'm not a big fan of sweets,
Okay.
so I'd probably say I do like ice cream though.
Okay, ice cream
is really good.
So flavor.
Probably like caramel.
Okay, caramel. Well, that's a sweet in it. So you just take your favorite dessert and your favorite thing that you would think, but imagine not being able to get it. And so here comes this lady that promises, I can make anything you want. And then you think, caramel ice cream.
I'd think run.
So that's what Edmund was essentially doing. And there's a lot of debate, too, over whether or not the Turkish Delight was magical or whether it was just normal. And there's no evidence that Lewis says either way, whether or not it was or not. Because some people are like, well, how could Edmund sell out his siblings over a sweetie?
Maybe it was like he had the idea in his mind, and then the witch like tempted him more and just like pushed him a little bit more.
I think that there's some people that believe that there was inherently a magic quality within it.
From a magic vial, and it turned into snow afterwards.
She created it, so
it could have been evil.
So there could have been something within the Turkish Delight that gave him that desire. Definitely that's a possibility. But I also think that if you think about it, and this kind of comes out a little bit in the movie, I think Andrew Adamson kind of draws this out where he says that he felt like because Edmund was the younger sibling, that when Jada says, I can make you a king, and you'll need servants, and of course she recommends his brother.
Around.
Yeah, and so by the witch saying that basically he was going to be king and his older brother Peter could be a servant. Well, that's appealing to a much deeper thing. And now in your real life family, you're the oldest.
Yes.
But I can imagine that if one of your younger siblings was given the opportunity to rule over you and to do whatever they tell you, whatever you wanted to do.
It depends which sibling.
So, but if they had that opportunity, that would probably be a pretty tempting thing. I think anytime that a younger sibling has the opportunity to be in control over their older sibling that oftentimes gets the say on everything,
probably.
Then that's a real desire. So I think that's part of it with Edmund too, it wasn't just the Turkish Delight.
Especially after Edmund and Peter were like fighting.
Yeah.
And they went to the wardroom and he's like, I hit Peter. And so he's like, okay, whatever.
Now I don't know how much of that is really drawn out in the book, but I think it's safe to say that there would be sibling rivalry assumed just naturally. And so I think the witch used both kind of together. And if we think about Scripture and we go to the Bible and we look at how it all started in the beginning, there was an original temptation by the serpent with Adam and Eve by showing something that they could eat. And we don't know what it was. A lot of people draw it as an apple, but it was something.
Mango.
It was something. Yeah, it was something good to eat. And that was the original draw, and that was the same case with Edmund here. But ultimately, the serpent also says to Eve, he says, well, it will make you wise. And you will know things, and you will be able to be like God. And so it's giving that sense of power and control. And so it's very similar, what Lewis has written to how our whole world started in the beginning. And ultimately that led to a problem that it took thousands of years later for Christ when he came to deal with and to create a solution for that problem that started way back in the Garden of Eden. And of course for Edmund, it took a great sacrifice by Aslan to rectify the problem that had been created by being lured in by the Turkish Delight and the promise of power. So, well, that was pretty good.
It was.
Getting to have some Turkish Delight from Greece. Pretty cool, I think. Oh, we hope that you have enjoyed this little chat that we've had about Turkish Delight and getting to see what Turkish Delight was like from Greece. I guess tune in next time. Maybe we'll see what Edmund thinks about this in a future episode.